Welcome to CBC Windsor News at 6. I'm Meg Roberts. Thanks so much for spending part of your evening with us tonight. We're learning more about the man charged with defrauding a community organization for hundreds of thousands of dollars over a 13-year period. Plus, we're digging deeper into Windsor's failed attempt at securing millions of dollars. That was through the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund. And a business owner hopes her new cafe will be the cat's meow, with a little help from the Windsor-Essex County Humane Society. There's shock today in Windsor's South Asian community. The ex-president of the South Asian Centre of Windsor stands accused of fraud, charged with stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Jacob Barker has more on that.
Windsor police say these charges are the result of a 6-month investigation by its financial crimes unit. It looked into missing funds at the South Asian Centre for Windsor. 81-year-old Sushil Jain was arrested on Tuesday. He is a former president and director of the center. Jain's alleged misappropriation of the funds occurred over 12 years, from 2011 to June of 2023. According to a release from the center, he resigned in April of last year. It says they discovered financial irregularities after it obtained control over the center's bank account. It also showed there was more than $360,000 deposited into Jain's personal bank accounts. He was charged with fraud over $5,000, money laundering, and possession of property obtained by crime.
They sought an explanation from him in accounting and some cooperation in getting bank statements for accounts that he had opened in the name of the South Asian Centre that the board was unable to get access to. And my understanding is when he refused to cooperate, they brought the matter to the Windsor Police.
The South Asian Centre of Windsor is a non-profit organization that runs several programs for members of its community. According to its website, it is there to enhance cultural values and identities of South Asians. It also provides services in several South Asian languages.
I think there's an element of shock and disappointment. Every penny matters to a not-for-profit corporation such as the South Asian Centre of Windsor. They're very hopeful that they'll be able to recover that money from Dr. Jain.
In a statement, the center's new president says it has new financial controls in place to prevent future misconduct.
The South Asian Centre survives solely on grant funding and donations and support from their membership. And I think it's important for the public to know that measures were taken by this new board to ensure that any alleged improprieties or financial improprieties won't ever happen again.
I did reach Jain by phone, but he refused to comment on the matter. He did say that he will be speaking with a lawyer and may have more to say next Monday. The matter will be before the court again on March 13th. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
Many cities across Ontario are set to receive tens of millions of dollars from the Liberals' Housing Accelerator Fund, introduced to kickstart housing development. Windsor is not one of those communities. That's because the mayor and majority of council did not want to allow fourplexes in all neighborhoods, a key requirement to unlock that federal funding. Tonight, we're digging a bit deeper into the implications of this decision and some of the criticism around it. The CBC's Josiah Sinanen has been looking into this and joins me now with more. Josiah, what is at the core of this issue here?
Yeah, Meg, so a large part of this is what's at play here is the fact that City Council objected to one of the federal application's requirements, which is allowing fourplexes anywhere in the city. That would mean that developers could have applied for any residential unit to become a fourplex without additional zoning permissions. All other cities who accepted funding, including Guelph, Hamilton, and London, to name a few, agreed to this requirement. Liberal MP Eric Kuzmierczak was hopeful we would be a recipient as well.
I was disappointed when I heard council's decision to put forward on 2 occasions an application that they knew was subpar, that didn't meet the conditions of the Housing Accelerator Fund, and so that was disappointing because I really feel that Windsor Council missed an opportunity, and I really do think that this was a mistake that's going to have an impact, really a long-term impact for our community.
Now, Meg, it's worth noting that the provincial law already allows for triplexes with no additional zoning permissions, and that was introduced by the Ford government in 2022. But when that law was introduced, there was little to no pushback, and only 26 permits were issued across the city. Kuzmierczak says that we were operating out of fear rather than facts when it came to this issue.
And what did the city have to say about this fourplex requirement not working?
Yeah, so I did request to speak to Mayor Drew Dilkens about this, but he declined an interview. They did send me a copy of his statement surrounding the issue, however, and we can take a look at that now. It states that by the federal government insisting on 4 units as of right on all lots without public consultation is something that does not work for our city. And he says that they essentially responded with no thank you, not good enough. So people that I spoke with listed a few other concerns with fourplexes, the possibility of neighborhoods changing, structural concerns with things like plumbing and water pressure, worries about there not being enough parking. And Meg, I also spoke with Ward 10 Councillor Jim Morrison this morning on the phone, and he told me that he believes this was simply thrust at us without consultation and that it became a little too political for him.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the concerns around neighborhoods changing?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, Meg. So I spoke to former councillor Reno Bordelin about this. He's now the project lead at Centre for Cities Housing Lab, which is an organization that's working on addressing the housing crisis in Windsor-Essex. And he thinks it's the true center of the issue, that many residents have a not in my backyard mentality. They don't want to see their neighborhood demographic shift. But he's been calling out that mindset quite openly.
What I saw, I was chair of the planning committee last term. Every single development, record numbers of developments coming to council for approval, every single one had a whole load of residents in the area in opposition because of the NIMBY mindset. And people would say, I'm not a NIMBY, but traffic will get worse. Well, did a traffic study and it doesn't show that. Parking will get worse. Well, there was a parking study done and shows that there's more than ample amount of parking. And renters are, crime will go up. And it's this classist mentality that we don't want renters in our neighborhoods. And that's one of the problems.
So Josiah, why did we still apply for this funding when we knew that fourplexes were a requirement?
Yeah, Bordelin's theory about that is that he thinks we were essentially playing what he calls political chicken. So there may have been a chance of us getting the funding regardless, but Bordelin says we put our foot down to pander to voters who might be concerned about their neighborhoods changing. Now, Meg, some residents were looking forward to the possibility of Windsor getting federal money for more housing. 34-year-old Burke Morris says he can't afford to move out of his parents' house right now, and he's been speaking with his MP asking for solutions. Here's what he told me.
So I waited patiently for our city to make an application, and after that application was denied, I became very frustrated because I felt like there is a lot of ping-ponging going around at different levels of government with responsibility. Nobody wants to take responsibility for this crisis and take action for it. It seems kind of irrational to me, to be honest, because we already have 3 plexes available as of right in any lot in the city, and we aren't inundated with 3 plexes, so I don't see how just allowing 4plexes is going to cause a lot of issues.
So what comes next, Josiah? Are we going to try and apply again?
It doesn't sound like it, Meg. It sounds like the deal's kind of off the table for now unless council changes their mind. Here's Ward 10 Councillor Jim Morrison, who I spoke to over the phone this morning.
We'll just keep building here in Windsor on our own. There is provincial money that we will receive as well. The $30 million doesn't go as far as people think. So yeah, it sounds good, but to build the infrastructure and different processes, really, it's not as significant as people think. And I'm not underestimating it. I hate to turn it away, but you want to dangle a carrot in front of me. I want to have some say in what we can do with those funds and how we can build.
I'll end with this, Meg. Liberal MP Eric Kuzmierczak says that he is open to talking again if City Council changes their tune. But earlier this week, the town of Tecumseh actually got a tentative approval to their application with no aversion to fourplexes. So by watching the housing markets there and in other cities, we can watch from a distance to see how this federal money will help those other communities.
Thanks so much for that, Josiah. That is the CBC's Josiah Sinanen. And as Josiah just told you, Tecumseh has tentatively been approved for their housing accelerator application. In fact, they're planning for 137 units. Tecumseh Mayor Gary McNamara says that housing is much needed.
Many of them have told us that they're where they raise their families. Now, a lot of their kids can't live in the community that they were raised in because they can't afford a home here. And so we're doing everything that we can to make sure that affordability and attainability and availability is there. And so we got to look at every option that's going to be brought forward.
A transport driver has been charged with stunt driving after LaSalle police say he was clocked going nearly twice the limit near the River Canard Bridge. Police say it happened Tuesday around 4 p.m. on Malden Road. They say the big rig was spotted traveling 94 kilometers an hour in a 50 zone. In addition to the stunt driving charge, the truck portion was seized, towed, and impounded for 14 days. The 37-year-old Windsor man also had his license suspended for 30 days. Windsor West MP Brian Massey's motion to help tackle a growing problem around auto thefts has passed at the Standing Committee on Industry and Technology. Massey, who is the NDP critic for auto strategy, says the motion would ask automakers to publicly explain how they're improving safety features to reduce theft. The motion requires automakers to submit their answers to the committee within 5 working days. A local figure skater is seeing her dreams come true. The 15-year-old is heading to the Special Olympics Canada Winter Games later this month. We caught up with her at practice a little earlier today.
I like doing spins, jumps, dances, warming up, and having fun with friends on the ice.
I've known Brianna for about 4 or 5 years around the rink side. Brianna's so talented. It's been a real rewarding venture for me with the Special Olympics. I started the Special Olympics skaters in 2012, and I've been going with them ever since. She works 7 days a week on stretches, off ice stuff. When I don't see her, she sends me a video. She does 2 other sports too, like she's actually going to provincials for ribbon gymnastics, but figure skating is her number one. Just watching her grow in the past 4 years has just been amazing. And if you asked other coaches, they would be like, wow, Brianna has just her maturity and everything.
What are you most excited about when you get there?
Bring her home gold medal.
A business owner hopes her new cafe will be the cat's meow, with a goal to do more than just keep people caffeinated. As the CBC's Dale Molnar reports, the business is also meant to help some friendly felines find their forever homes.
We have stuff for you to wear, apparel, bedding. We have lots of jewelry.
Chantal Godet describes the various cat-themed items in her store, Yay for Strays. The front part of the operation features the gift items, and it also includes a coffee bar.
So we'll be making espresso, we'll be making cappuccino, lattes.
But what sets this place apart from other trendy cafes are these guys.
Are you killing it?
There's a room in the back crawling with cats. The health unit doesn't allow the cats up front where the food is being served. So for $7 for a half an hour or $10 for a full hour, patrons can come back here and hang out with the furry felines.
I knew that I always wanted to work with animals, just didn't really know exactly how and what kind of platform. So heard about these and just absolutely fell in love with the concept. I've always been in love with animals my entire life. I don't know how anyone can't be. I wouldn't want to be alive if they weren't here.
If you fall in love with one of the kitty cats you meet at Yay for Strays, you can adopt it. And they handle that here at the Humane Society. The Humane Society supplied the cats in the first place, and they work to match the right cat with the right person.
We really try to help find a cat who's a good fit for that specific situation. If they're looking for a mellow older cat, or if they're looking for a really active kitten, we try to match them with a cat who will be a good fit for them.
The Humane Society charges $130 for the adoption of adult cats. The pets come spayed or neutered, vaccinated, treated for parasites, and microchipped. How many cats would you like to have here at any? I guess it's kind of varies, I guess.
It will vary, absolutely. I would love every cat cafe to have no cats, because then we save them all and we're good. But there is no set number.
The Cat Cafe will open on February 24th. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
generation can't remember a time where people could smoke in a store or at the bank, let alone on a school bus. But in 1985, that was a hot topic of conversation. This week's Rose City Rewind goes back to when council was debating whether or not to introduce a bylaw that would prohibit smoking in certain public places. Here's a report from former CBC reporter Percy Hatfield.
Under the new bylaw, you won't be allowed to smoke in stores, at service counters in banks, trust companies, or municipal offices. Some areas like this have already been designated at City Hall. Elevators will be off limits for anyone smoking, as will escalators. You won't be allowed to smoke on school buses inside Windsor city limits. Smoking has been banned for years in the council chambers. Smokers have had to step outside to light up. It's been an inconvenience for people like Gord Harding, the Public Works Commissioner.
Mr. Payne won't allow smoking of any kind in his office, and Gord has to sit through whole mornings without a cigarette or anything.
Torture. Well, I think it's also time that we told the smokers of this city that theirs is a very socially unacceptable habit, and that it should be confined to consenting adults in private.
Mike Patrick goes through 3 packs a day, but he supports the new bylaw. Although it will be an inconvenience to some, it'll likely pass unless there's a huge outcry from the general public.
Well, we saw a little bit of winter this morning, but you certainly can't see much evidence of that on the tower camera. We have your full weather forecast coming up after the break. Victor, do you know what my favorite part of Valentine's Day is?
The chocolates.
It's actually the day after when all the candy and chocolates go on sale.
You know it. And my favorite thing about Halloween is literally the whole week afterwards because all the candy's on sale.
I know. I'm going to have to go to Bulk Barn or Shoppers or wherever after this and stock up, so I can have some cheap candy for the next few weeks.
You know, Meg, my last question for you, and you can wait till the end to answer, but what is your favorite Valentine's Day treat or candy?
Come back to me at the end.
So before we get that answer, let's talk about the weather, Windsor. It's going to be a cold couple of days coming ahead. We're expecting temperatures to slowly start dipping, but overall, this is the time of year where our average highs and our average lows, instead of every day getting lower and lower, they're now turned around and things are starting to get warmer and warmer. We're also seeing longer days with the sun setting a little later and even coming up a little earlier as well. Now, we'll have a sunny Friday, and we're expecting some warmer temperatures by the time we reach Sunday. Now, your average high for this time of year is plus 0.4, and your average low is minus 7.1. And you can look at our daily highs today. We were right there. It's a seasonal day for Windsor. It's been a while with all of the above seasonal temperatures lately. 3 degrees currently in Windsor, and we're expecting the temperatures as we get later on into the weekend. You can see a lot of that Arctic air mass working its way down to the Windsor region, and that's why we're going to be experiencing a little bit colder mornings and nights like tonight into the morning. And on top of that as well, we'll be seeing ourselves having a little bit more colder weekend. Now, here's what it's looking like when you look up into the sky for your weekend, Windsor. Your Friday is going to be quite dry, but when it comes towards your Saturday, you're going to also notice a bit of precipitation coming by, but it's not a lot, and it'll be coming near your overnight into your Saturday morning. Now, quick look at our 3 and 5 day forecast. What's in store? Well, we got a bit of precipitation we did see coming on Friday towards the end of the day. Saturday's going to be a light amount of snow, and we could see by Sunday things start to slowly warm up as your Monday and Tuesday as well will finally be much warmer than it has been over the last couple of days. Now, Meg, what is your favorite Valentine's Day candy?
I think that there could be some moans with this one, but the Hot Hearts, not that I love them, but it's the novelty of having them at that time of the year. I would never eat those any other time of the year except for in February. So I'm going to go with the Hot Hearts.
Now, the question is, can you put the 30 in your mouth at the same time without having to spit them out? Because, I try that all the time. Never works.
I know. I've definitely done that, especially when I was younger. The burning feeling, not so much. But, yeah, maybe I'll have to go to the Bulk Barn after, see what they got.
Well, stay warm, Windsor. It's going to be a cold one, and we'll talk tomorrow.
Thanks so much for that, Victor. The Ford government is beginning work to license new for-profit private clinics. We have those details coming up. The Ford government is preparing to launch its plan to give private clinics a bigger role in Ontario's publicly funded health system. The plan means some surgeries and scans that are covered by OHIP will be performed by independent clinics instead of hospitals. Even though there's been plenty of criticism against the move, tonight some doctors are speaking out in support of Ford's plan. Our senior reporter at Queen's Park, Mike Crawley, has the story.
A hip replacement in progress at Toronto's Humber River Hospital. The surgical teams here have their operating room running so smoothly that they now do a hip replacement on the typical patient in just 35 minutes.
We're able to help 14 people today that are all going to go home within the same day, which is, pretty unique.
Hip replacements are among the OHIP-covered surgeries that will soon be performed in independent clinics outside of hospital under a new plan by the Ford government.
When it comes to your health, the health of all Ontarians, the status quo is no longer acceptable.
These three doctors all support the Premier's plan.
When you restrict surgeries to being only done in the hospital, it really limits the access for patients to care.
The sky's the limit as to what we can do. We can take a tremendous amount of pressure off of the hospitals in many different areas.
I think there's much to be learned by looking at other healthcare systems and not be scared by them.
These physicians all point to countries with universal healthcare, like Australia and Sweden, where many publicly funded surgeries and scans happen in private clinics.
What all of those systems found were both efficiencies in terms of the cost of delivery of care, improvement of the quality of care, and they absolutely tore through their wait times.
While Ontario's wait times for most surgeries are among the shortest in Canada, they're far longer than in countries where independent clinics take on some of the work.
These models of care exist all around the world. We're not inventing anything new here in Ontario. We're actually playing catch up.
One big concern from critics of the plan, Ontario's hospitals are already facing a staffing crunch. So when nurses and doctors move to these clinics, how can things not get worse? The physicians answer, in a specialized clinic, staff will be able to work more efficiently than they can in a general hospital.
Hip and knee fit perfectly into this. It is basically a very repetitious procedure.
They're taking a lot of the work that is kind of grunt work out of the hospital and letting the hospital concentrate on what it needs to concentrate on, which is complex care.
In a time where the healthcare system is as strained as it is, the Ontario Medical Association says family physicians are increasingly considering leaving the field due to systemic challenges.
One family doctor said, quote, "Increasing inflation makes it impossible to maintain my clinic," end quote. Another said, quote, "The administrative burden is crushing me. I am so tired of spending hours every day doing paperwork," end quote. These sentiments were echoed over and over by family doctors across the province.
As you just heard, some of the reasons family doctors are considering leaving the profession include the rising cost of inflation and the burden of administrative work. The OMA says 2.3 million people in Ontario are without a family doctor, and that number is expected to nearly double in just 2 years. Pandas have long been the face of conservation with that adorable black and white face, but a new creature experts are exploring appears to be mimicking that iconic look. Meet the less cute and, well, more creepy looking species called the skeleton panda sea squirt. It's a newly classified species first discovered a few years ago near a Japanese island south of the mainland. They measure about 2 centimeters. The white parts that look like skeleton are actually its blood vessels. That's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. Thanks so much for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you back here tomorrow night.